When attempting to visualize innominate rotation, or any other physiological process, whether in times of health or in pathology, it's always good to have a point of reference. The right innominate, shown here in the posterior oblique view, and here in the anterior oblique view, will be used as those points of reference. The musculoskeletal pathology, so the posteriorly rotated innominate in this case, will be modeled on the left innominate. Notice the general muscular attachments on the right innominate posteriorly. The reason for modeling the hamstring muscles and others of the posterior compartment are due to the fact that hypertonicity in these muscles can be one of a few different causes of a posterior innominate rotation, treatable by direct osteopathic manipulation. It's difficult to explain the motion of the innominates without also mentioning the role of the sacrum. Innominate rotation occurs about the lowest or most inferior of the hypothetical three transverse sacral axes, which runs horizontally through the inferior auricular surface where the two innominates articulate with the sacrum, so to speak. For the sake of completeness, the axes will be briefly covered here. The cranial-most axis, the one that is the highest up, is known as the superior transverse axis. It runs horizontally just posterior to where the dura attaches at the second sacral segment. The superior axis is the location of both the respiratory and inherent motions of the sacrum. The middle transverse axis runs horizontally through the anterior sacrum, and it too is located at the second sacral segment. It accounts for the postural component of sacral motion. Essentially, this is the axis the sacrum can rock forward or backward on, known as nutation and counternutation respectively. Finally, the pictured oblique dotted lines represent the dynamic axes. A solid understanding of the sacrum, with its three transverse and two oblique axes, is pivotal to understanding nearly every lower pelvic dysfunction, which is why we leave for you here the often used trip mnemonic. Memorization can help you to store a bit of this concept for future rumination, but a solid grasp of the conceptual basis of these dysfunctions should be the ultimate goal. So let's now turn back to the posterior innominate. What landmarks are you generally expecting to find that clue you into this diagnosis? To begin, you'll have to do a more generalized exam in order to localize the site of the dysfunction. The first is a standing flexion test and/or a supine compression test, either of which will be positive on the left side in this case. This informs you the left side is dysfunctional, and from here on, everything will be attributed in reference to that left innominate. Similarly, the left ASIS and pubis will be higher than that of the right side. Finally, the left PSIS will be lower upon palpation than the right, and the left sacral sulcus deeper. Upon measurement, or simple visualization, you might realize that the left leg appears shorter than that of the right. This is a pseudo-short leg. The leg isn't actually shorter. Rather, the contracted musculature simply serves to temporarily cause this anomaly. And actually, upon treatment, the leg lengths should equalize again. If not, then either the treatment was ineffective and bears repeating or changing, or the leg might actually be shorter. One last thing to recall is that how level these landmarks are is always in reference to the other innominate. Therefore, it is paramount to localize the site of the dysfunction first. Always localize first. At this point, it may be beneficial to pause the video in order to analyze the various landmarks and their relationships to one another. If you think you've got it, accessing the treatment videos would be the logical next step.